What's up, everybody? It's Dan Binder Boneyard coming at you from the office. Beautiful, sunny June day, finally. Been enjoying the nice weather here in sunny Central Oregon. Hopefully it is nice where you are and not tornado stricken or flooding or snowing. If you have been following along on Instagram at all, I made a post the other day I was at In-N-Out, and I was apologizing to Josie because I was kind of going outside of our diet, and I talked about the diet a while back on another podcast. But anyway, it stirred up a bunch of comments and interest from people, and I'm really surprised how many international people are interested in diet and weight loss. And I guess that explains why there's a massive market of, snake oil and vibrating bead suits to trick you into thinking you can lose weight. And so then it sent me down another path about the old days and old-timey living. So this is probably going to be a weird, wandering, meandering podcast. If you're here for technical info and torque specs, this probably isn't going to be the podcast for you. If you are here to hear my nasally drone and enjoy some hillbilly perspective, then you're in the right place. So thank you for the support. Thank you for all the Patreon donators. Thank you for everything. The likes, the shares, the subscribes, the telling people online, all the social media stuff. Like, it all helps. Our online part sales have steadily been climbing, and I appreciate that very much. And I couldn't do it if it wasn't for all of y'all. So anyway, back to my original train of thought. This particular diet I was on, or am on, and probably will be on forever, it's not really a diet at all. It is a lifestyle. And it is what you imagine someone from 1930 would be doing. Meat, vegetables, a little bit of fruit, no sweets, no sodas, no cakes, candies, no breads, really. That's the one departure I would think from the old-timey diet would be that I'm not eating any grains or breads whatsoever. No rice, no wheat, no oatmeal, none of that. I personally can't have dairy, so no cheese or milk for me, but it can be had on this particular diet. But anyways, what that means, what I was getting at was that it's like 1930. It's old time. This is what you would have ate back in the day. No preservatives. Everything was cooked in tallow, beef fat, and no hydrogenated oils, not super refined sugars and super processed stuff. But what that gets me to is someone asked me a while ago about how to live vintage, or how to be old-timey in a modern world. And so that's just a meandering way of how I got to all of this stuff, was that this is just one branch of the whole vintage tree, if you will, is a diet. And so what I'm going to talk about today is other aspects of the vintage lifestyle. And some of you live this life as well, and so it's going to be redundant for you, but there's some people that want to know how to change their life, that's international centric, or not centric, but international involved, and, just be better all around. And I think that there's ways to do it. And I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I do as far as maintaining, staying modern, but also not giving into, or staying vintage, but not giving into all of the modern pitfalls. One thing I will note about this is that modern times have made us comfortable. And, whether it's the interior of your new car or pickup, or the way food is delivered to your face, or how you live your life, like everything has air conditioning now. Everything has sugar in it to be sweet and enjoyable. Everything is soft and comfortable. And that comfort comes at a cost, I believe. And that the ease that we have been afforded just makes us more susceptible to I don't know what's the word, injury later on. They say that about your immune system. When you grow up on a farm and you eat dirt and you play with dogs and cats and you buck hay every summer and you do all this stuff, that it helps your immune system harden up to other outside germs and diseases and things like that. And yeah, you still get sick and that kind of thing, but it does make you tougher, supposedly. That's the anecdotal evidence, than someone who grew up in a bubble and then was exposed to nature later on. And I feel the same way about just lifestyle in general. I drive the Travelette across the country a couple times now. I've driven old trucks across the country several times, and everyone's always like, "Oh, doesn't your back hurt from that seat? Doesn't your legs hurt from the position at the pedals? Doesn't?" And no, I don't. Like, sometimes my butt will hurt after like 16 hours in the truck. Like, and I don't care what you're driving. Like, I drove Super Duties across the country, leather heated seat Super Duties, and after 16 hours, my butt hurts in that too. So, it's not necessarily what you're doing. Sometimes it's just the time. Like, I don't think you're meant to sit down for 16 hours ever. So, to be sore after something like that is just kind of a given. But, I found people don't want to give up the comforts of modern interiors. They're trying to put, Super Duty stuff inside of an old truck, and it doesn't look very good, in my opinion. And it doesn't fit right, and it's trying to be comfortable, and I don't know, it just doesn't fit for me. Like, I feel like you can survive adverse conditions by being conditioned to adverse conditions, if that makes sense. So, driving the old rigs, like, you just get used to sitting on the seat. Like, it's not I don't know, for me anyways. I'm not overweight like some people are, and I'm not oversized. Like, a lot of these guys in the international community, for whatever reason, are like 7 feet tall. And so I get that. I get, having a hard time in these old trucks, because I think people weren't as big back in the day. But anyway, just that whole, like, you just got to kind of harden yourself up a little bit if you're going to make vintage trucks your life. And yeah, you can make them more comfortable for sure. Like, like when Josie does all of our upholstery work, they get better foam, and the springs get redone and that kind of stuff. And they are very comfortable. So you can strike that happy medium of a comfortable bench seat or a, comfortable bucket seat from 1975. Like those things do exist. You can have that. So you can stay vintage with the conveniences of new foam and new upholstery. You can update your interiors with, sound deadening and things like that to knock the noise down and make them more comfortable, but still stay in that vintage pocket, where you're not going over the top to try and make it like your, 2022 Subaru. And if you try and compare your truck or Travelall to something that modern, you're not going to get there. It's the engineering is different, the layout. It just you can't do it. So you automatically have to resign yourself to the fact that you're dealing with 1960s or 1970s design and technology. So, and then that brings me to other aspects. Things are just more enjoyable as far as I'm concerned when it is natural fibers, wool, cotton, silk, that sort of stuff just provides a better experience than polyester and pleather and that kind of thing. So, when you're trying to outfit your life, think about what your stuff's made out of. Wood and steel versus plastic and polymer, whatever. I found that I haven't bought any new clothes in years. I did buy a pair of overalls from Key recently. They're cotton. I think they're made in Mexico. Not my favorite, but for the most part, I buy all my clothes secondhand, antique stores, whatever, Pendleton, Filson, Levi's, cotton t-shirts. And I know there's a lot of people in the outdoor community. They're like, oh, cotton is rotten. Yeah, it might be, but somehow our ancestors, our folks in the old days survived with it, long before you had polyester and Dacron and whatever all this stuff is that they're discovering now is bad for you, microplastics and things like that are really turning out to be harmful for people's reproductive systems and stuff. So, it might be something to consider that, you want to live a different lifestyle, but still, not be a weirdo and wear homemade leather clothes. There's nothing wrong with a good set of the Levi's and, vintage Levi's, not new ones. And they're not that expensive. Like, I was at the store the other day and a brand new pair of blue jeans is like $90. And you can buy, used vintage Levi's off of eBay for like $40, $50. So yeah, you got to deal with the fit sometimes and whatnot, but it's just one more thing to maybe it's a little more comfortable. I think it's easier for your body and it's vintage, like, and it I don't know. You see all these hipsters wearing pants with rolled up cuffs and that sort of thing. And like, so it's, you can walk that line between being a hipster and just wearing period correct clothing, that goes with the whatever you're driving. Like, I don't know. I'm just of this in the last 10 years, probably, I've really turned the corner on maybe the 60s wasn't so bad. Like, people try to, talk about modern stuff and how we're trying to improve and all that. And I don't know. I mean, you put on a good cotton shirt and a Pendleton button up, pair of Levi's, some leather boots, And to me, it's comfortable. You get a lot done. You know, it's not a weird, I just don't like the fit and feel of modern outdoor gear and stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just weird like that. I like the stuff that my grandpa wore, you know, maybe not the cowboy hat, but you know, I like just, it just makes sense to me the way that stuff was in the 50s and 60s as far as materials and design and cut and that kind of thing. And you know, some of it is as us as a population have gotten so much bigger. You know, everyone's overweight now. All the clothing sizes have changed. You know, you go and you look at clothing from the 60s, and you know, a men's pant and a 30-32 was normal. 30-30 was normal. And now you go to the store and you look at men's clothing and it's 40-32. You know, I have a hell of a time finding anything that's in a 30-32 or 32-32. Because right now I'm 5'11" and 150 pounds. So I'm slim. And it's tough. It's really tough. But I can find stuff all day long in a 50-32. Like, just, I don't know. The way that things have changed, it's indicative of just bad times. So as far as living vintage lifestyle and staying old timey, like, I don't know. I like to use old tools, try to find what you can, you know, garage sales, estate sales, good craftsman stuff. Craftsman from the 60s and 70s was great. You know, and sometimes you get lucky and you'll wander into a Snap-on set or a Mac set from the old days, and those are just fine. Those are good tools. You don't need to go down to Lowe's and buy a full set of Cobalt whatevers to outfit your garage. You know, when the old tools work just as fine, and you know, got a lot done in the old days. You know, and you try and be smart. Like, in the old days, and even up until recently, like, you know, nobody wore gloves to protect themselves from oil or chemicals. You know, earplugs was you only wore earplugs if you were in the sawmill. Safety glasses were just glasses. Like, you know, so you can be smart in what you do, like wearing nitrile gloves and things like that. But, you know, you don't have to go overboard and wrap yourself in a bubble, you know, because it's counterproductive after a while. So, you know, like welding, when I'm working, I don't wear a respirator when I weld. You know, not normally on these projects. You're not welding that much. You know, if I was doing production welding again, like I did 15, 20 years ago, I might consider a respirator. But, you know, short jobs around the house, around the Scout, you know, you're welding in some rockers or something, I wouldn't worry about it too much if your material is clean. You know, leather, though, like, I'm not a fan of the synthetic fabric welding gear. Like, just a good pair of leathers, good leather gloves, leather boots, you know, or cotton pants, cotton shirt, whatever. Just know that you're going to ruin it. So, you know, you can get a lot done and not support the machine of China with all the synthetics and man-made stuff that's coming out of these certain places, you know. And then that's the other side of what I was getting at, was because I don't buy stuff new, I buy USA made secondhand stuff. I'm not supporting the overseas market. I'm not helping out some giant corporation. You know, and I know it sounds dumb because I'm just one person, but for me, it makes me feel better about my purchases when I'm buying stuff secondhand, especially from the local antique stores and things like that. Like that, I don't know. I just feel better about it. Same with the tools. I try not to buy new tools. Like I just get everything used, garage sales, things like that, swap meets. And it's amazing what you can find out there. I got just a couple weeks ago, I got some really nice Craftsman body hammers for like $5 a piece. And these things are selling on eBay for $40 a piece. So, and even $40 a piece is a screaming deal for a high quality body hammer. Which, if you're gonna do any of this stuff, at least 2 hammers is what you need. If you're gonna be doing any kind of body work or metal work on internationals. So, even $40 a hammer is still money well spent on a quality hammer used. I mean, a brand new one from Snap-on is $140. So, you can get good quality, American made, and not support the giant machine, and just continue that lifestyle of vintage-ish. But yeah, like I said, it just comes down to everything, like diet, like I was talking about before. Like, instead of eating so much fast food or gas station food or mini mart or whatever, like, make a sandwich at home, pack a lunch. And I know you guys with kids and stuff, and kids only eat friggin' chicken nuggets, or they'll only eat grapes or whatever. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's, every kid wants to go to friggin' McDonald's. I was the same way when I was a kid, so it's hard. But I'm just saying, your quality of life, in my opinion, improves so much. Being smart with packing your lunch and having food that is whole and good for you, and being prepared like that, it just improves every aspect. Not eating fast food. It's crazy the change that I've gone through in feeling about myself and just in general. And there's that stigma about eating healthy is expensive, but I've found that I was spending just as much money, if not more money, at the fast food places and the mini marts on road trips, especially. Every time I stopped for diesel, I would go in and get a soda and a peanut M&Ms or a bag of chips or something. So every 3 hours I'm spending $10 minimum every 3 hours. Well, a couple of apples, a bag of almonds, sandwich I made at home, out of, I shouldn't say sandwich, you guys can have sandwiches. I can't have sandwiches, but, some lunch meat, that kind of thing. Like, it actually ends up penciling out to be about the same or cheaper depending on how you shop. And it keeps you fuller longer. You feel better about yourself, less processed food, less chemicals, less everything. Yeah, it is more work. You got to have a little lunch pail or a little cooler that you can keep the stuff in, whatnot. But, not drinking any soda for the last 4 months has made an incredible impact on me. And, the soda of today is different than the soda of 1930. Back then the Coke had actual cocaine in it. So, take that for what you will. But it's just different. So, like I say, trying to be vintage, and it just takes more work in today's modern world, but the rewards are so much greater. I feel like I just, there's so much going on that I think is bad for us. And, it's just, if we're going to keep these trucks on the road, we got to keep ourselves going and, try and set the best example for our kids and for other people. And, like I said, you buying good vintage tools, buying the best parts you can buy, usually the NOS stuff or vintage auto parts off of eBay or one of the websites, also helps to not support the giant China machine, because 95% of the parts are coming out of Mexico or Taiwan or China or Indonesia. So, if you can find the part you need in a vintage application, a lot of times they're just as good, if not better. The one things I would avoid are like carburetor rebuild kits. Old carb kits, they dry out and the gaskets shrink and that kind of thing. So kind of beware. But like old bearings, like if you can find a Timken bearing still in the box, but it's an old one, like you're guaranteed that's going to be better than anything you can buy nowadays. So just things like that to consider. But yeah, as far as like my lifestyle goes and living vintage, like I have to remind myself kind of regularly, like we watch a lot of old movies. I listen to old radio stations, but I do it in a modern way. Like we've got Pandora and satellite radio in the shop. So yeah, that's a modern convenience, but we just run it, we listen to the 40s channel or the 50s channel, and it kind of puts you in that perspective. Like when we watch TV, we don't watch TV actually, but we watch a TV that's usually playing something from, Amazon or YouTube. But, we watch old shows, and it is just a reminder of, how things looked, how people acted, what thing, like little clues, because I'm only 44. So all of my experience with a lot of old time stuff is just stories relayed through old folks, being around old guys when they were doing things. And that's taught me a lot. And so that's another thing to mention is, be friends with old folks, because they're not making them, like these old folks, when they die off, like there's a generation that's going to die and has been dying, and they're taking with them a lot of information that we don't have. And that's part of what I'm trying to do, like with my YouTube channel and things like that, is keep some of this information alive, get it out there to the world so that it's not gone forever. So, hang out with some old folks, introduce your kids to old folks, like spend some time with them, even if you can work with them. Like that's what I learned a lot of, is going out and cutting firewood with these old guys, or, you learn about how they work, but just you pick up their stories and the way they talk and things that just you're not going to get any other way. So I encourage everyone to spend time with old folks. Go to old things. Go to your local tractor get together. Here in Oregon, there's a big thing over in Brooks called the Steam Up, where they fire up the old steam tractors and old equipment, and open up all the truck museums and all that stuff. And it's like, you gotta go see that, go experience that before it's gone, because they're not making that stuff anymore, and the people that know how to run it they're just getting older. And yeah, they're passing on to some of their kids and their grandkids, but man, the numbers are dwindling, and it's all stuff that you need to see and appreciate before it's gone for good. I look back at so many things of my childhood that I regret not paying more attention to, and my biggest regret, if I can call it that, of being a youngster is not listening enough, not paying attention thinking that whatever we were doing was dumb. And I just wanted to go ride dirt bikes or whatever. And now looking back, like I had all these amazing opportunities to talk to these guys that are now, they're dead, long gone, dead. And I can't talk to them, or even my grandma from England. Like, she moved over here in 1955, 1956. And, she had all kinds of great stories about England and whatnot. And like, she was alive during the war. Like, and I'll never hear those stories. So, I wish I had listened or talked, asked more questions back then. But, these guys are just dying. And so, to learn that vintage life and to live the vintage life, you need some examples. And these guys, they're the people, and yeah, there were a lot of things about the old days that were pretty terrible, as far as you talk about racism and things like that. But I still believe, like with everything, that you can pick the good parts out of things and then change the bad stuff. Like, like you can be nice to everybody. You don't, just because of what was going on back then doesn't mean you got to be that way now. So, I know that sounds so elementary, but it's amazing. It's amazing how people are. But yeah, just spend some time with the old folks. Spend some time with your old gear. Don't turn your nose up at old clothes. You can still be stylish in your old clothes. You can still get a lot done with old tools. Watch some old movies. Listen to some old radio. Drive your old trucks. Don't be afraid to put some miles in on the old trucks. Toughen yourself up to that kind of thing. And sometimes getting tougher means dropping some weight, getting in shape, trying to be a better person. These old guys, they smoked and drank and ate bacon for breakfast every day and still lived to be, 80s. I don't know how many of these old guys were 80s and early 90s, still out working, doing, being very active and living that lifestyle. And now you see people that are needing to be on 8 different prescriptions at 60. So, there's something to be said for that old working lifestyle, diet chain. I don't want to say exercise, but like work, do stuff, be active. That just seems to go so far with when you look at these old guys and what they were able to do. I mean, I knew guys falling timber, they were in their 70s that were still packing a saw out there every day, falling timber. My dad, he's 70, works at the sawmill every goddamn day. And then he raises hogs in the spare time. Like, it's staying busy, staying active, and living that old life that I think is what's going to keep you going the longest. Relying on pharmaceuticals and modern technology to keep you going, I don't think is where it's at. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, so this one ran really long. Sorry. Yeah, so whatever. It's just my rambling thoughts for the day. I could be full of crap, or you could, tell me to go to hell, whatever. But just my observation, just what I thought, just things I see, things how I live my life. And I'm trying harder every day to be that better person. I do a lot less shit talking on the internet than I used to. I try not to complain as much on the Instagrams. I'm trying to just be better. So that's all we can do. Just be better. So anyway, well, thank you everybody for listening. Appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Dan from Binder Boneyard.